All right, let's just jump right in. Today, in this explainer, we're unpacking a totally unexpected connection between a 19th century masterpiece and, well, our 21st century smartphone habits. You might think classic Victorian literature belongs strictly in some dusty classroom, but the ideas embedded in those pages, they are literally playing out right now on the exact screen you're looking at.
So I really want you to think about this for a second. What on earth does an 1890s Gothic novel have to do with your Instagram feed? I mean, on the surface, absolutely nothing, right? But when we actually look at the core anxieties driving Oscar Wilde's famous story, we find a remarkably accurate blueprint for our own modern digital anxieties.
Take the phrase, "You are only as good as your last pick." This is actually from a highly acclaimed 2021 digital theater adaptation of The Picture of Dorian Gray. And the wild part is, the creators didn't even have to change the core meaning of Wilde's work to make it fit today's world. They literally just swapped out an oil painting for a smartphone. It perfectly captures our modern obsession with curated online imagery. And, let's be honest, the mildly absurd amount of time we all spend trying to capture that one flawless selfie. Section 1. The Modern Digital Mirror. Let's start by looking at the sheer scale of the digital landscape we're all currently inhabiting.
Get this. According to recent global data, there are 5.24 billion active social media users around the world today. Over 5 billion. And the average user is spending over 2 hours online every single day. That means a massive, massive portion of humanity is constantly staring into a digital reflection, just creating, doom-scrolling, and consuming an absolute endless stream of curated identities.
Now, obviously, a lot of this engagement is completely harmless, but clinical research identifies a growing phenomenon known as problematic use of social media, or PUSM. And when high engagement crosses the line into PUSM, it actually starts to share symptoms with traditional behavioral addictions. We're talking about a persistent preoccupation with being online, building up a tolerance that requires more and more scrolling just to feel satisfied, experiencing actual withdrawal symptoms like anxiety when disconnected, and ultimately neglecting offline real-world responsibilities.
Section 2. Oscar Wilde's Victorian Prophecy. To understand how we got here, we actually need to look backward into the 1890s to see how Victorian society faced a surprisingly similar explosion of new technology and social anxiety.
We so often think we're the very first generation to deal with rapid, overwhelming technological change. But just think about this timeline for a second. In a few short years, the Victorians saw the invention of the telephone, the phonograph, and the light bulb. By 1891, international phone lines were opening between Paris and London, which created an immediacy of communication that had literally never existed before. I mean, imagine how startling a ringing phone must have been to a Victorian. Then by 1895, short films were being shown to the public. They experienced this rapid technological boom that completely thrilled and terrified them. They genuinely worried the technology was moving entirely too fast for human ethics to keep up. A conversation that sounds incredibly familiar today, right?
Section 3. Avatars and Alter Egos. This rapid tech shift in the Victorian era gave rise to a deep anxiety about identity, which is the exact anxiety Oscar Wilde tapped into.
It's honestly fascinating how directly the fictional world of the 1890s maps onto our reality today. Think about it. On one hand, we have Dorian Gray. He keeps his true, decaying self locked away in an attic, while this pristine, eternally youthful avatar roams the world. And then, on the other hand, we have today's digital culture. We project these heavily filtered, highly curated social media profiles, our best angles, our best vacation moments, while often hiding an anxious, flawed, and entirely human offline reality. The metaphor is almost exact. It's like a mirror.
Section 4. The Psychology of Filters. So what actually happens when we live this split lifestyle? Let's look at the clinical data to reveal the psychological consequences of this modern Dorian Gray existence.
Okay, this data is fascinating and honestly a bit startling. In a quantitative study on Instagram filters and self-perception, a massive 94.4% of users acknowledge that filters create unrealistic overall beauty standards. Just 5.6% disagreed. Yet, despite almost universal awareness that these images are totally fake and damaging, half of the users surveyed still admitted to using them to enhance their own appearance online. It's wild. We are fully aware we're applying a digital mask that makes us look like glowing, poreless aliens, yet we do it anyway. We know the painting is an illusion, but we just can't stop looking at it.
And the consequences? They are very real. Research from the University of Padua has thoroughly established the academic and clinical link between problematic social media use and severe conditions like body dysmorphic disorder and eating disorders. Because when we're constantly comparing our offline reality to the filtered, perfect avatars of everyone else, it can lead to obsessive thoughts about perceived physical flaws.
To understand the why behind all this, psychologists point to a few key drivers. First up is attachment theory, which suggests that individuals with high anxiety and a fear of rejection will excessively seek validation online. Then there's time perspective theory. This shows that if you have a fatalistic view of your present or you dwell negatively on your past, you're much more prone to problematic digital escapism. And finally, social comparison. The endless scroll of idealized images inherently damages our self-esteem. We are basically willingly walking into Dorian's attic every single day.
Section 5. Adapting Dorian for today. The parallels here are so strong that modern artists and playwrights have realized they don't even need to invent new stories to critique social media, they just need to update Wilde. Just look at how contemporary adaptations are explicitly using this story as a diagnostic tool for our culture. It is brilliant. The Sydney Theatre Company produced this incredible one-woman show where the actor transforms using live mobile editing apps and filters right on stage. Then the Barn Theatre reimagined the painter, Vasil, as a tech genius who codes a youth-preserving digital filter for a modern Dorian navigating dating apps. And author Will Self, he wrote a novel where the oil painting is replaced entirely by a video installation. The painting is literally gone. The screen has fully replaced it.
Section 6. Lessons in Digital Civics. Now, this isn't just some literary observation. How can studying an old novel actually teach us to navigate our digital world safely?
Well, the crucial point here is understanding a concept called digital civics. Essentially, this is the study of our rights and responsibilities as citizens of the digital world. A core tenet of digital civics is realizing that our online and offline worlds are not separate things. They are one conjoined environment. What happens to the digital avatar eventually impacts the offline human, just as the sins of Dorian Gray eventually caught up with his physical body. And this means we have to take responsibility. In the novel, Dorian blames the physical knife for his terrible actions. And today, we constantly blame the tool. We blame the algorithm or specific platforms for our distraction, our anger, or our mistakes. But digital civics teaches us that while platforms absolutely have ethical responsibilities, for sure, we also must exercise personal responsibility. We have to manage our own digital behavior instead of just pointing a finger at the screen. And hey, when things go wrong online, we can actually look to history for survival tactics. Both Wilde's society and the modern internet are highly focused on shame and social censure. So to combat digital shame, psychologists suggest specific steps. First, simply recognize those feelings of worthlessness. Second, enact what they call approach behaviors to take back control. For example, when the model Iskra Lawrence was fat-shamed online and told she ate too many chips, she literally reclaimed her narrative by posting a video of herself happily eating chips. I love that. And third, rely on offline friendships. When Oscar Wilde was released from prison, totally socially ruined, it was his offline friends who supported him. Real human connection is the absolute ultimate antidote to digital destruction.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground today in this explainer, from Victorian tech booms to modern algorithmic anxieties. But I want to leave you with a final thought to take away from all this. Take a look at your own social media profile. Got it? Now, look at your actual everyday life. What does your own attic portrait look like compared to your digital avatar? Are they aligned or are they drifting apart? It's a question Oscar Wilde asked over a century ago, and frankly, it's a question we desperately need to keep asking ourselves today.